Welcome into the Wisconsin Live Desk. I'm Haley Spittler. We will have 2 hours for you coming up here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. I'm talking local news, national news, and you never know what's going to pop up on the feed. Sometimes we even get some international news in there. I do want to start by just taking a live look outside here in downtown Milwaukee. Another day with those just beautiful blue skies. I know I was talking to our weather experts this morning. They said we do have probably some rain coming in overnight, but otherwise we have just beautiful dry weather in store for your Labor Day weekend. 72 degrees outside right now. I know there's a high of 76 degrees. So if you're somebody who hasn't necessarily been loving these cool fall temperatures, maybe today's your day to get outside, enjoy some warmer temperatures before that fall season officially kicks in. I know a lot of people consider Labor Day to be kind of the unofficial ending of summer as we now transition into fall. We are expecting a lot today on the Wisconsin Live Desk. Coming up soon, we'll have our very own Jason Calvi joining us, giving us an update on the flooding situation and Governor Evers' official ask now of President Trump to declare this a natural disaster. We're also monitoring a press conference coming out of D.C. where the mayor is expected to give a situational update. But I think the big headline today is one that is absolutely tragic, and that is coming out of Minneapolis, where there has been a school shooting where 2 children are now dead. So I do want to take you out there where we can get the very latest information. This is obviously a breaking news story. We first heard about it shortly after 9 a.m., and it's definitely a developing story. New information is constantly coming in, but this is what we know so far. A shooter opened fire this morning during Mass at this Minneapolis Catholic school. We know 2 children are dead, 17 other people are hurt, and we also know the shooter is dead. So Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara said that shooter was armed with a rifle, a shotgun, and a pistol. They believe that he fired all 3 of those weapons. He did so by approaching the side of the church, shooting through windows toward the children sitting in the pews during Mass at the Annunciation Catholic School. This is absolutely tragic news coming out of Minneapolis today. And I mean, just look at that image. So we're taking a live look right now. It's always heartbreaking to see that police tape, that crime tape surrounding a school. So we know the school was evacuated, that the students' families were later directed to a reunification zone. I've seen some of the images coming out of those reunification zones, and it just is a gut punch when you see parents hugging their children, and some of these children are young, kindergarten age, and you know that today is a day that will forever change their life. Both the students, the teachers, the faculty, the parents, anybody who lives in this neighborhood. This is the unimaginable that just became a reality for them. I'm going to give you another live look. You can see this is definitely an active scene. Police are still out there in Minneapolis as they continue to figure out kind of what exactly happened, why it happened, and we know people are in the hospital right now fighting for their lives. So again, let me recap some more of what we do know right now. There are 2 victims. They are 2 children. They're ages 8 and 10. And they were killed where they sat in the pews. Again, this was during Mass at the school. 17 other people are hurt, 14 of those children. We also know that 2 of those children, they are in critical condition. Shooter, officials have not released his name yet, but they do say that he was in his early 20s. Officials have called him a coward who fired dozens of rounds through the church windows on the side of the building before killing himself in the parking lot. So far, the police chief has not said whether that shooter has any known connection to the school. Again, this is Annunciation School. It was founded back in 1923. It has 391 students enrolled as of last year. This school goes from pre-K to 8th grade. These are incredibly young children. Again, those victims are ages 8 and 10. Certainly a situation that is making national headlines. As I mentioned, we know that the governor was briefed on this. He has put out a statement He says, I've been briefed on a shooting at Annunciation Catholic School and will continue to provide updates as we get more information. The BCA and State Patrol, they are on scene. I am praying for our kids and teachers whose first week of school was marred by this horrific act of violence. I mean, truly just a heartbreaking situation that is coming out. I mean, so many people, when they go back to school, it's supposed to be an exciting time, a time of new beginnings, and now these families are mourning the deaths of 2 children. Obviously, it's so hard now to go back to school in the future. We've also heard from the president. I'm going to pull that one up. President Donald Trump tweeting, I have been fully briefed on the tragic shooting in Minneapolis, Minnesota. The FBI quickly responded and they are on the scene. The White House will continue to monitor this terrible situation. Please join me in praying for everyone involved. We also just heard from the White House recently, about half an hour ago, saying that President Trump has spoken with Governor Walz, and that is making headlines because the president, opted not to speak with Walz when earlier this year a gunman killed 1 Minnesota state lawmaker and wounded another. So people now pointing out that this time around with this school shooting, he did touch base with the governor. And we know when something like this happens, I did look it up, you know, Annunciation, it's a little over 5 hours from where our station is located here in Brown Deer, the kind of suburb of Milwaukee, but we know that it affects everyone. You know, whether you send your kids to school in Minneapolis, in Milwaukee, in LA, in Florida, you're now wondering about safety for your kids. Is it okay for me to send them off tomorrow? And so we've actually also heard from some people here in Minneapolis. We have a statement coming out from the Archdiocese of Milwaukee, which we will get pulled up for you shortly. I'm going to have Delaney working on that. They released kind of a long statement that I'm going to read out for you. They say, please join me in praying for the victims and families of those who were killed and injured in the shooting at Annunciation Catholic Church and school this morning. Our hearts break for the families and communities who have been traumatized by violence, especially during the sacred celebration of Mass. As Psalm 34:19 tells us, the Lord is close to the brokenhearted, saves those whose spirit is crushed. During times like this, we need to lean into our faith, hold each other up, and be compassionate to each other, recognizing the dignity of each person we encounter. Know that my prayers are also with our teachers, staff, and students for a safe and blessed school year. The start of a school year is supposed to be a time of anticipation and new beginnings. I hope that is not diminished by this tragedy. This is hearing from the Archbishop there, Jeffrey Grob. We have also heard from the Superintendent of Catholic Schools here in the Archdiocese of Milwaukee. Ed says, safety has always been a priority for our Catholic schools in the Archdiocese of Milwaukee. Our protocols include annual safety workshops and funding for security upgrades. This is an issue we have long been committed to, and we regularly assist our schools in reviewing their security measures to ensure safety for our staff and students. Just a lot of reminders here about safety in schools and what we can do to protect our children, our loved ones, our friends, our family. Again, if you are just joining us, we have been keeping you updated on this breaking news situation out of Minneapolis where 2 children have been killed in a school shooting. I just want to go over again what we know so far. There are 2 victims, 2 lives lost in this tragedy. Those are 2 children ages 8 and 10. They were killed where they sat in the pews during a Mass. 17 other people have been hurt. 14 of them are children. And we know at least 9 of those children are being treated at a trauma hospital. 2 of those children right now are in critical condition fighting for their lives. That shooter is dead. He did turn the gun on himself after firing off 3 different weapons through windows. They say, again, that he died in the parking lot. They do not know if there is a connection to the school. They're obviously working right now. You see them on scene working to kind of connect those dots and figure out what the motive was and why this happened. So again, if you're just joining us, Annunciation Catholic School, this is, it was founded in 1923. It's about 5 hours from us here in Milwaukee, out of Minneapolis, but truly just a heartbreaking situation that we are continuing to monitor. New information comes in by the minute. We know some families are probably right now trying to find their kids, especially if they're at a hospital. So we will continue to bring you the very latest, both here on the Wisconsin Live Desk, on Fox Local, and on air when we have our afternoon newscasts. But as I did mention, we do have some more local news coming in regarding the flooding, which has been a story for a while since it happened a few weekends ago. And we do have an update on the possibility of FEMA aid. The next step in that process did happen today. So our very own Jason Calvi is going to be joining us in just a few minutes. But we're going to take a quick break and get ready for that. So stay with us. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
Wisconsin Live Desk.
Welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk this Wednesday afternoon. It is 12:42. I'm Haley Spittler. We will be bringing you the latest news, both locally and nationally, up until 2:30. I want to start by heading outside, taking a live look in downtown Milwaukee, where today it looks quite beautiful. Again, 72 degrees. We have a chance for some overnight showers, but besides that, it's been pretty dry, which was not the case a few weeks ago when we saw that historic flooding, which we know caused a lot of damage. And since then, the main question has been, is FEMA going to come in and provide some aid? And that's a long process, a lot of steps and boxes you got to check off. Our very own Jason Calvi has been busy following this story really from the very beginning. And I know today, Jason, we have reached kind of the next phase. What is the big news out of that from Governor Evers today?
Yeah, Haley, the big news is the governor. This is his letter that he wrote President Donald Trump, requesting that the president declare a disaster for what we saw, the flooding and devastation we saw across southeastern Wisconsin because of the floods about 2 weeks ago, a little over 2 weeks ago. So the president now, or the governor now writing the president, asking him to declare that this was a disaster. And if the president agrees, it really comes down to the president alone making that determination. And if he agrees, then the possibility is there to unlock federal FEMA money for flood victims. That's what the governor's asking for here in his letter. He says that the needs are great. He has an urgent request for the president to approve this major disaster.
You know, Jason, I know this is a pretty lengthy document. I wasn't even able to read through it all the way, but I know you were telling me there are some new numbers. What have you learned while reading through this?
Yeah, so we're talking about a 24-page letter to the president, and it has data in here. It has river levels and how we reached, some of the rivers in the area reached record levels in those flooded homes and community parks and things along the rivers as well. So what this letter lays out is massive numbers of homes that were destroyed. 1,500 homes that were either destroyed or had severe major damage. That's what they're estimating. This just in 3 counties. That's just in Waukesha, Washington, and Milwaukee counties. Those were the 3 places that FEMA inspectors came with the state. It's called a joint preliminary damage assessment. They did that on Thursday and Friday of last week. And just through sort of their snapshot of the damage they were able to find, they believe at least 1,500 homes that were either, like I said, damaged or severely damaged or even destroyed. So just for those homes, we're talking about potentially damage of $33 million, and that's just what we're talking about for individuals. And then there's another component here, which is damage to public infrastructure. Think about those roads that were washed away. There's one down the road here in Brown Deer. There's several, 2 of them in Menominee Falls. There's others that the governor mentions in his letter as well, where the water was so strong coming through those culverts underneath the roads, and it just washed away. The water was just too much for those culverts, and the roads sunk in, looking over into what became cliffs. What was once a road then became a cliff and a massive crater. That's part of the public infrastructure damages. And the governor's letter here to the president says initial estimate on public infrastructure damage, $43 million. So we have 2 different numbers here. For the public infrastructure, $43 million. That's a rough estimate because FEMA is actually going to be coming back out to Wisconsin to do another joint inspection with the state, looking at public infrastructure. This last visit, which happened last Thursday and Friday, was really looking at homeowners and things like that. So homeowner damage, estimate right now $33 million in just those 3 counties I mentioned, and then public infrastructure damage of $43 million, and that extends throughout the entire region. The governor mentions other counties as well that had damage for their public infrastructure that he's asking the president to help release some federal money and declare this a disaster.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking right there, $76 million just in this first assessment, Jason. That is a lot of damage. I know a lot of people have been hoping they're going to get this FEMA aid. Certainly, this is a step in the right direction. I'm curious, in the past, how long is that timeline from when a governor makes this request to when a president says, okay, I'm going to declare this? And
even if, even after this request comes in, Haley, it's possible that the president could say no. We know of at least 2 recent instances in Indiana and in Maryland where the president did not approve of the individual aid, meaning the funding for homeowners, for example. Indiana did receive, they had some flooding and some strong winds that came in over the summer, and they did get approval for public infrastructure, the public assistance program, so they're going to be able to help repair some of their public infrastructure. But the president said no to the homeowner, what they call individual assistance. So Indiana's appealing President Trump's decision on rejecting the aid for homeowners, and we're seeing the same thing in Maryland. Maryland had some massive flooding as well, and the president denied their request to give that assistance to individuals. So that's a big question still here in Wisconsin. I think that's why you're seeing this letter of 23 pages really trying to lay out the argument for why they think the president should approve this. And we heard from the governor as well, and he says he's really urging President Trump to do what he says, to do the right thing and make the appropriate presidential disaster declaration in coordination with the preliminary damage assessment. I'm reading here from a quote from the governor, and quickly and without delay. So he's really hoping that the president, or asking the president to act quickly here on approving the disaster and to grant that aid to these homeowners, and also the communities across the state have had major damage here.
Jason, I don't want to take up too much more of your time because I know you are busy working on this story, and I also don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but I am curious because so many people are really hoping for this FEMA aid to come in, especially those homeowners who have seen damage. Do you have any idea what the average aid is if we were to qualify, if we were to get it?
Yeah, that was the story I was going to be working on yesterday when we had some major breaking news with the Judge Hannah Dugan case. So I wasn't actually able to put together those numbers yesterday that I hoped to have done for my my story yesterday. So I will be putting those numbers together now, really been trying to work with some of the states that have had recent disasters. And I can tell you what, Haley, there seems to be some reluctance from some of these states to talk because they're still in the appeals. Like, for example, Indiana is one that they're still in that appeal process, really asking the president to take a second look at their request to help homeowners, which was originally denied. That state got some assistance for the governments, for the public assistance. But again, so a lot of the states didn't necessarily want to go on the record talking about this because they're still hoping to help their own states out with their disaster declarations. So as far as the average amount of money, what we've heard from Milwaukee County leaders, the mayor, the county executive, and others is that they're hoping that this money will help people be able to, rebuild. But again, what we heard from the county, Milwaukee County's emergency management director, so this is not going to make us whole. I mean, it's going to help us to live in our houses again, but it's not going to be everything, the end-all, be-all for all of the damage. We do know the American Red Cross is now starting this process to give money to victims of the flood. There are several requirements. We've got the information on our news app as well as on our Facebook, on our website as well. And what the two requirements are is that the people that are going to receive these grants from the American Red Cross, their home has to be unlivable right now. So they cannot live, their house has to be unlivable. If your home has damage, but you can live in it still, then you would not be eligible for this batch of money. So that's one other avenue, as we see nonprofits coming in to help. We see the American Red Cross. You think about when we've had disasters in other parts of the world or other parts of the country where even our audience has helped out with the American Red Cross. Now that help is coming right here to Wisconsin.
Yeah, well, we know you have a lot more to do on this story. You really just brought us this kind of breaking news to the Wisconsin Live Desk. You just switched your story to cover this today, so we really appreciate you taking the time, Jason, and we'll let you get back to work.
Thanks, Haley.
All right, if you were just joining us, that was our very own Jason Calvi giving us the update as Governor Evers has now officially requested that President Trump declare a disaster for flooding, which would hopefully unlock some aid from FEMA. I've been monitoring the feeds as Jason was talking with us, and I do actually want to take us back out to D.C. I know we were waiting for this press conference when we started the Wisconsin Live Desk. We know the D.C. mayor is giving us an update on the Fed takeover that's happening in Washington, D.C. So let's go ahead and listen in.
We know that we have had fewer gun crimes, fewer homicides, and we have experienced an extreme reduction in carjackings. What we know is not working is a break in trust between police and community, especially with new federal partners in our community. We know having masked ICE agents in the community has not worked, and National Guards from other states has not been an efficient use of those resources. What's still needed is in the city, we are going to continue to need more police. We continue to need more prosecutors, more judges, more effective prevention programs, and we need to ensure local control. We also know what has helped us in the last 2 years drive down crime numbers. We looked at the ecosystem similar to the changes we saw in the police numbers. And we advanced legislation, the council advanced legislation, but we know there's more to do. We will continue to work with the D.C. Council and the Attorney General on legislative changes that will promote more accountability. We will approve the police contract to retain our force strength and look for other ways that will help us recruit and retain high-quality officers. We will offer a hiring and retention bonus to help us shore up our path to 500 new officers. And we, of course, are focused on ensuring accountability throughout our system. There are other non-law enforcement things that we will continue to focus on to promote safety, including unifying our violence intervention programs, increasing the capacity of our homeless services programs, making sure we're providing more mental health services to youth and adults, and delivering a new residential youth treatment center. Now, while this isn't a work stream of the federal task force, we include it in all of our discussions, and that's how we recharge the district's economy. You have covered a lot the problem with the CR that caused us, the most recent CR that caused us to have to cut $1 billion from our budget, which in fact impacts our ability to quickly pay raises for firefighters and police officers. We are also very focused and working with the feds on stabilizing the federal workforce, accelerating land transfers where it makes sense, modernizing federal leasing, and other specific DC incentives that will promote our economic growth and recovery from many of the changes in our federal landscape. So that is a quick update, quick-ish update on where we've been in the last 2 weeks and where things stand. So with that, we'll be able to take a few questions. Let me get you, please. Thank you.
Raphael with Channel 9.
Yep.
Mayor, it says that there have been 2 questions. There have been more than 1,500 arrests. Can we make the distinction between, or how are we quantifying between a federal arrest or an MPD arrest? And then another question for Chief Smith. Chief Smith, I think we made it clear that there's a trust that's been broken because some of the lines are being blurred when people on the street see MPD and federal agents responding maybe to the same scene. Perhaps to you it's clear who's doing what, but to the community it's not. How do you build that trust after the surge?
So let me just answer the question on these data represent MPD and federal arrests, but maybe not all federal arrests. Okay? And Chief, you want to talk about Crest?
Sure. Just the second question with regard to building community. We've come a long ways, I believe, here in the District of Columbia with police and community. We know that there is some work for us to do once the surge ends. We need to make sure that we are in our communities again. We're still there. We're still working with our community, and we're still creating, if you will, a space where we can have Q&A and answers with regards to our federal partners. We have worked with our federal partners. This is nothing new. We just have an enhanced presence, right? One of the things that I shared maybe a couple of weeks ago is that we have been specific in the locations where we would like for our federal partners to support us in with respect to those areas where we've seen a little bit of high crime, and we've placed them there in those locations with us to support those efforts.
Yep. Right here. Mm-hmm.
Good afternoon, Felicia Ashley, ABC7. In talking with Community and Interactions, the Joint Task Force just sent an update yesterday that MPD made a request to have Joint Task Force staffing at certain metro stations as it relates to where school areas are at the start of school. Can you elaborate on what that partnership will look like and also your intention and hope behind that request as well?
So with respect to the metro stations, I think that's really Metro Transit because I don't have oversight over the metro stations. With regard to having a federal task force available to us, when we do see surges and spikes in crime, it will certainly be helpful for us. We know that our federal partners work with us when we have various operations, or some folks like to call them takedowns around the city, very complementary in that space. And the expectation is that we will continue those efforts and hopefully have the opportunity when we want to conduct different operations or different surges, we can call upon them to be able to support us.
Yep. I'll get you in a second. Yep.
Madam Mayor, yes, thanks. In your conversations with the president, what assurance did you get that he would not attempt to go beyond the 30 days?
That was not something that I discussed with the president, but with the Attorney General Bondi, and we will continue to work on how our Emergency Operations Center and the Federal Task Force can work together. Yep.
Earlier this week, activists were out front of the D.C. courthouse during arraignments that lasted well into the night, about 100. My understanding is a good portion of them were no-papered. I just wanted to get your thoughts around that, just seeing as though police are arresting people.
Yep, that's a great question. We don't have any information around what the courts have done or what the U.S. Attorney has done. We just don't have that information available for this briefing, but I do think it's important to understand.
Mayor?
Yes.
Would you respond to the plan by the federal government, the Department of Transportation, to take over the management of Union Station?
Well, the federal government owns Union Station, and I think that I don't know the details of what will happen. If it's just about management, that I would consider that step one. If it's about what Union Station needs for its total transformation, that would be an amazing initiative for the federal government to take on. I have had a very early conversation when I visited the president during his most recent transition about Union Station and how that could represent a very significant and good investment for this region. Yep.
You're just joining us. We have been listening into this press conference coming out of D.C. where Mayor Bowser has been giving an update on that federal takeover, kind of talking about the crime numbers from the last 2 weeks. Obviously, D.C. has been making a lot of headlines as President Donald Trump brought in the National Guard, armed some of those members of the National Guard, really saying that he wanted to see the crime in D.C. go down drastically. He's since said, hey, other cities could be my next goal with this kind of task that he's been doing. He mentioned even Chicago maybe being the next city takeover. So, yeah, we've been listening in, getting some of the new information out of D.C. right there. Well, hey, we are going to take a quick break here on the Wisconsin Live Desk, because when we come back, we got to talk Brewers. Both their game last night, getting ready to play again against the Arizona Diamondbacks tonight. Plus, looking ahead to next season, we just got their schedule. So lots of fun things to talk about here on the Wisconsin Live Desk, but you just got to stick around for 2 minutes, because we'll be right back.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Welcome back back into the Wisconsin Live Desk. I'm Haley Spittler, and it is officially 1:03 of your Wednesday afternoon. Hopefully today is kind of just chugging along for you. I know a lot of us here at Fox 6, we thought it was like Thursday when we woke up, so realizing it was only Wednesday was a little bit of a painful kind of revelation. So hopefully your Wednesday's going by pretty smoothly. I'll be with you here on the Wisconsin Live Desk for the next half hour. Then we've got the legend, the myth, the man, the legend. Ted Perry's going to join you for the second hour of the Wisconsin Live Desk. And you know, I've mentioned it a few times here that I am from Chicago, that I am a Chicago Cubs fan, but listen, I'm a woman of the people. I want to bring you the content that I'm sure a lot of you Milwaukee fans and Brewers fans are really going to want, and that's the latest for the Brew Crew. So let's take a live look outside right here at AmFam. Looks like the roof is open. It should be. I mean, it's a beautiful day out there. Look, it says 73 degrees right now. I know it could go up to 76 degrees today. So right now in town, we've got the Arizona Diamondbacks. They'll be taken to the field again tonight at 6:40. But my goodness, it was a very eventful game yesterday at AmFam. The Brewers, they did pull away with the win. Don't worry. They won 9-8, but it was in dramatic fashion. So it's always kind of painful when your team is up 6-0, which the Brewers were after the third inning. But then the Diamondbacks, they came back kind of slow but steadily, and by the 8th inning, they tied it up at 8. But your Brewers, they walked it off in the bottom of the 9th, winning that one 9-8. And also some pretty exciting news for you, Brew Crew. Your 2026 schedule is out. It's a lot to look at right here on the screen. But I know what people are really excited about, two things. One, well, I guess you're excited if you're a baseball fan, which I am. Look how early this season is starting next year, March 26th. I love that because I love baseball, and it's always a very long couple of months in between, you know, November, December, January, February, where I'm waiting for my team to take the field again. So March 26th, mark your calendar. Also mark your calendar because it should be pretty easy if you want to see the home opener, the season opener, because the Brewers are starting at home. This is the first time, I want to say in 5 years, that's the case. They're taking on the Chicago White Sox. And then I know they mentioned a lot of interleague play is happening. I think we highlighted earlier today the New York Yankees there. You see that one in May. That's always kind of fun when the Yankees are in town. And, of course, the Chicago Cubs. That first series with the Cubbies is going to be the end of May, middle to end of May. That one will be at Wrigley Field. Delaney, I know you're not a huge baseball fan. You've told me you like to go for kind of the social setting. But are any of these series really catching your eye? Is there one you'd want to go and see? Is it Delaney ignoring us? Oh, I did not hear you in my ear, Delaney. Oh, Delaney, I wonder if it's not routed right, because I definitely can't hear you when you're answering. So I'm just going to imagine that you wanted to be yeah, as I'm saying, I'm hoping you're going to say the Chicago Cubs, because you want to be a good friend. You know, I love the Cubs, so very good news there. But yeah, I do want to say, we don't have any video clips of this, but what a wild scene last night with the sausage kind of race. If you were watching this, we watched the Brat won last night, but the Polish sausage took a tumble on stage, but have no fear, it did not finish in last. The Italian sausage somehow finished in last, despite the fact that the Polish sausage completely wiped out. I also want to talk about the ring heard around the world. I know I actually joined the Wisconsin Live Desk yesterday when this news kind of broke, but of course we are talking about Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce getting engaged. I know Nicole and I had a lot of questions when this first broke, and the good news is that Travis Kelce's father, Ed, he tends to spill the beans a lot. I think that Taylor's parents are a little bit more media trained and would be like, no comment. Ed will pretty much tell you what you want to know, which Nicola and I had been kind of wondering if when they did that podcast, they had already been engaged. which we don't know for sure, but we do know this happened about 2 weeks ago. They announced it yesterday on Instagram, which when we talked about it on the live desk, it had started at like 7 million likes, and it had gone all the way up to 12 by the end of my time talking. So let's go check and see what it's at right now. 30 million. I'm still waiting to see if this could potentially become the most liked Instagram post of all time, but it has a ways to go. It has to go up to 75 million if that's going to be the case, which again is Lionel Messi. He posted a photo celebrating the FIFA World Cup win back in 2022, and it went on to get 75 million likes. Yesterday I was a little bit more confident that this Instagram was going to break that record, but now that things have slowed down and we're at 30 million, I'm not sure. But again, this was captioned, your English teacher and your gym teacher are getting married. Very cute and precious there. I'm not even that much of a Swiftie, but I just think they're a cute couple. And I love love, and I also think, I mean, two things. One, I'm so glad they were able to share this news when they wanted to. It certainly was not leaked. I know we were shocked in the newsroom when this news came down. We didn't actually believe it because I feel like there's been rumors the last 2 years that they got engaged when they obviously hadn't. So they definitely were able to keep this tight-lipped and announce it when they wanted to on their terms, which also I think they did pretty well from a PR standpoint. I mean, Travis is about to start the NFL season, the tight end there for the Kansas City Chiefs. Taylor Swift just announced her next album, so it's a good time for both of them to be in the headlines announcing that engagement. And what a picturesque, beautiful scene, this garden kind of wonderland image. Which also, speaking of football here, you guys, I have never, I'm going to go on a slight tangent on the Wisconsin Live Desk. I have never done a fantasy football league. I was convinced by some of my friends to do it. I'm officially in an all-girls league, a lot of first-timers, so it seemed a little less intimidating. Not a Swiftie, but I was trying to come up with a creative team name, so I did go Karma is the Guy on the Chiefs, and I was able to draft Travis Kelce in the fifth round. I maybe grabbed my tight end. So I feel like also I somehow put out some good vibes for Travis Kelce, and now we have the engagement right there. So happy for them. I don't think we have a picture of the ring, but if you guys haven't seen it, it is huge. I think we found out today it costs about $1 million. It is stunning, but I just don't think I would ever want to own something that costs that much money because I'd be terrified to lose it. But yeah, again, we're just all really happy for Taylor Swift that she doesn't have that blank space on her ring finger anymore. It's a love story. Baby, we're the new romantics. I mean, I could probably keep this love story never goes out of style. I'm going to stop. That's a lot. That's a lot of Taylor Swift references right there. The other thing we could talk about is how beautiful it is outside. Right now, it's still dry here in Milwaukee. I know we are monitoring some overnight showers, but after that, it is supposed to be a very nice Labor Day weekend. Well, I guess very nice if you like those cooler temperatures, which I love the cooler temperatures. I am a fall girl, so this is been such a nice week for me, kind of be able to pull out my jackets, not sweating too much. But we know Labor Day, kind of the unofficial end of summer for a lot of people. They have plans to go out, and we do just want to let you guys know about something that is returning, the Tow to Go program. So this is from AAA. They offer free confidential rides to impaired drivers and vehicles within kind of a 10-mile radius. This is going to run from Friday night starting at 6 p.m. until Tuesday morning at 6 a.m. I love that they keep it confidential because there's just no reason to feel embarrassed. So hey, call this program. It is completely free. There is no reason to drink and drive, especially when AAA is making it so easy with their Tow to Go program. I'm nervous to ask Delaney if she has any weekend plans since it wasn't working earlier, but we're gonna try and see if I can hear Delaney in my earpiece this time. Delaney, do you have Labor Day plans? You guys, it's still not working. I can't hear Delaney. I'm gonna imagine she said she does because I'm pretty sure she requested off from work. So I will miss her on Monday because I will be here at Fox 6 in the newsroom bringing you the latest news and headlines, which I'm also going to do in 2 minutes when we return to the Wisconsin Live Desk. But I am going to leave you just for those 120 seconds while we take a quick break. We'll be right back.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Welcome back into the Wisconsin Live Desk. It is now 1:16, which means I'll be with you for the next 15 or so minutes before Ted Perry takes over here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. But I am Haley Spittler. If you've never kind of tuned in for the Wisconsin Live Desk, we monitor what we call feeds, and we take you to the latest news live as it happens, whether that be locally here in Wisconsin, across the country, even internationally at times. When we started the Wisconsin Live Desk at 12:30 today, I brought you some breaking news, and this has really just been a heartbreaking situation out of Minneapolis today, where there has been a school shooting, and we know that 2 children have been killed in this. This is absolutely devastating and tragic. I do want to bring you what we know so far, as this has definitely been a developing and a breaking story with new information coming in pretty steadily since 9 a.m. or so when this happened. Tragically, there are 2 victims in this shooting. They are both children. They are ages 8 and 10. They were killed while they were sitting in pews attending Mass here, as you can see there, at the Annunciation Catholic School. We also know that 17 other people were hurt in this. 14 of those are children. I think that number is growing as well. 2 of those children at last check are in critical condition, just fighting for their lives. Your heart breaks for these families. The unimaginable. When you drop your child off for school, you expect, and you should be able to expect, that you will be picking them up at the end of the day. And I cannot imagine how terrifying it is to get a phone call that there has been a shooting at your child's school. And I also can't imagine what it would be like to be the parents of these, two children who have, these two children who have lost their lives at ages 8 and 10, or to be the parents of these other 14 children that are hurt at the hospital, the scramble to try and find out if your kid is all right, if they're safe, where they are, how can I get to them? Truly just the unimaginable has happened here in Minneapolis today. I know there's probably a lot of questions about who is responsible for this tragedy. The police chief there has said the shooter was in his early 20s, did not have an extensive known criminal history, and acted alone. That is all some new information since our last check. So again, does not have an extensive known criminal history. They have confirmed that he acted alone. We also know that that shooter then turned the weapon on himself, and so the shooter is dead. We know he used 3 different weapons, and he shot from the outside. So he shot through windows into where this mass was being held. The last time we updated, we had 9 children that were being treated at a trauma hospital. Sadly, that number has now grown. They say they now have 15 children and 2 adults that are being treated at trauma hospitals. They are aged 6 through 14. It looks like we just got a new statement in from Hennepin Healthcare saying 7 were considered to be in critical condition. So that has grown. And again, 7 are now considered to be in critical condition, starting at age 6 up to 14. This is such young ages of these victims, and your heart just breaks knowing that their lives have been forever changed because of this incident. And again, they were just at mass sitting in pews when this all broke out. Since the last time we checked in, we also know the president has now ordered that flags be flown at half-staff to mark the Minneapolis shooting. The White House posting on X that President Trump signed that proclamation this afternoon, ordering flags to be lowered at all government buildings until sunset on Sunday, quote, as a mark of respect for the victims of these senseless acts of violence. We're taking a live look here at the White House where you see that flag there being flown at half-staff. We have heard actually from President Trump and from the White House about this shooting out of Minneapolis. I want to bring that up for you here. You see President Trump posting on X, I have been fully briefed on the tragic shooting in Minneapolis, Minnesota. The FBI quickly responded and they are on the scene. The White House will continue to monitor this terrible situation. Please join me in praying for everyone involved. Yeah, just absolutely tragic coming out of Minneapolis. Again, we broke this news around 9 a.m. here on air. That's when we learned of what had happened in Minneapolis. We also know, of course, the governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz, if that name sounds familiar for you. He was the running mate with Kamala Harris this last election cycle. Obviously, this is happening in his state where he is the leader. He's also been speaking out. He says, posting on X as well, I've been briefed on a shooting at Annunciation Catholic School and will continue to provide updates as we get more information. The BCA and State Patrol are on scene. I am praying for our kids and teachers whose first week of school was marred by this horrific act of violence. The first week of school, this happened to these families, to these children. Obviously here in Milwaukee, we've got lots of kids back in school, and we're gearing up to have more kids go back to school next week. We are monitoring these. We've got lots of live shots that are coming up out of Minneapolis. We don't know if anyone's going to speak. You can obviously see that microphone there in the middle of this shot. It's a very active scene. You can see the crime scene tape that looks like some members of the media walking around, getting their reports, trying to bring us the latest information. If anyone does begin to speak at that microphone, we of course will bring that to you live here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. But we know when something like this happens, whether it happens locally, close to home, or if it happens, this Annunciation School would be a little over 5 hours from where we are here in Milwaukee at our station out of Brown Deer, or if this were to happen across the country, it just makes you think about your kids and if it's okay and safe for them to go to school. And we have actually received a statement from the Archdiocese of Milwaukee, which I'm going to have Delaney pull up for us when she gets the chance. But this is what we've heard. It says, please join me in praying for the victims and families of those who were killed and injured in the shooting at Annunciation Catholic Church and School this morning. Our hearts break for the families and communities who have been traumatized by violence, especially during the sacred celebration of Mass. As Psalm 34:19 tells us, the Lord is close to the brokenhearted, saves those whose spirit is crushed. During times like this, we need to lean into our faith, hold each other up, and be compassionate to each other, recognizing the dignity of each person we encounter. Know that my prayers are also with our teachers, staff, and students for a safe and blessed school year. The start of a school year is supposed to be a time of anticipation and new beginnings. I hope that is not diminished by this tragedy. We also heard from the Superintendent of Catholic Schools, that'd be Ed Foy. Again, this is the Archdiocese of Milwaukee, and he said safety has always been a priority for our Catholic schools in the Archdiocese of Milwaukee. Our protocols include annual safety workshops and funding for security upgrades. This is an issue we have long been committed to, and we regularly assist our schools in reviewing their security measures to ensure safety for our staff and for our students. Again, this is just such a tragic situation that has unfolded out of Minneapolis at the Annunciation School. So far, we do know that 2 students have lost their lives in this shooting. They were 8, they were 10. Obviously, the camera here moving, where you just see that crime scene tape, that police tape outside of a school, those officers on scene. I was listening to some of the neighbors who live near this church and school saying, you know, I hate to say that I never thought it would happen in our neighborhood, but that's how they felt. They felt we were safe here, and now that whole idea has been shattered this morning with this school shooting. Again, we did learn some new information about the shooter. The big question when something like this happens is, what was the motive? Was there a connection? I know they don't know about that yet, but we do know the police chief said the shooter was in his early 20s, did not have an extensive known criminal history, and is believed to have acted alone. They did not release a name or any information on possible connections to the school. New information, again, it comes in all the time on this very developing and breaking news situation, so we're continuing to monitor that. I can tell you the images, I don't have a live feed of it, but the reunification sites, it is heartbreaking to see parents, you know, reunited with their kids, just emotionally are lucky enough to reunite with their kids. Other parents, I'm sure, are trying to find where their children are. We have a lot of children that are in the hospital, and we know for sure right now 2 parents or 2 sets of parents are dealing with the unimaginable, with the loss of their children. So yeah, just an absolutely heartbreaking situation. Again, we are monitoring to see if we're going to have any new updates, whether that be from the police chief, from a hospital, from anyone from the school. So if anything like that happens, we will bring it to you here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. I do want to take us actually back to DC, because this press conference is still happening with Mayor Bowser, where she was giving us the update on the feds' kind of takeover of the city, talking about the latest as far as it goes with crime. It looks like she's still taking questions, so let's listen back in there. Again, this is coming out of D.C. That's Mayor Bowser.
Anne Marie Kucha with Street Sense Media. Can you give a little bit of your reasoning behind doing the emergency count? Is there a concern that people have been arrested or have moved out of the district in large numbers, people experiencing homelessness?
I think our concern is that people have moved around the district. We think, I think the number I reported was that we think that, well, we know that about 81 more people have come into shelter. We don't necessarily know where they came from. They could have come from encampments. So we think that people have moved around.
And will the results of that be shared with the federal government? And is there any concern that they could use that to then target homeless encampments?
We don't expect that we're going to have homeless encampments, and we are going to work to make sure that people can come into shelter.
If I could just add, some of the purpose of doing the point in time count again is there's been anecdotal conversation, anecdotal stories about people believing that there are changes, and there may be changes. And those anecdotal stories are anything from encampments, have they moved from downtown core to neighborhoods?
If you're just joining us, we're taking a live listen in right now in D.C., where again the mayor, as well as a panel of people, are giving some updates on a federal takeover. We are going to continue to listen into this, but I just wanted to quickly sign out because the man, the myth, the legend, Ted Perry, is here. He'll be taking over, so he'll have you covered for the second hour of the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Additional shelter capacity. What does the numbers really sort of see at that? We're not collecting names for those who haven't done a point-in-time count. There's no names collected. It is really just individuals identifying those who are unsheltered or are homeless on a particular given night.
Are you still going to be doing the full demographic survey or just counting?
Just counting.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. You have the final question, okay? Yep.
Hey, Mayor Bowser. Liz O'Gora, Kilrag. We're hearing from a lot of residents fears that are described ranging from tension to a sinister feeling like a horror movie, whereas you can hear the music, something bad's about to happen. What do you say to those residents who are having these feelings even as they try to go about their normal lives during this federal surge?
I'm not sure I'm qualified to answer that question because I know there's a lot of anxiety. There's tremendous anxiety in the district. When I look and I see residents putting things on social media or neighborhood chats, I know that there is a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of anxiety with kids going back to school, with writing. So I know that there is a lot of anxiety, but I also know there's a lot of anxiety in our nation. It's anxiety over people being able to pay the bills or pay their electricity bill, or, I looked at what I spent last year on school supplies versus what I spent this year. So there's a lot of anxiety, and what I've told everybody is that we all have a role to play. Your role or that of my constituents is different than the role I have to play, but we all have to play our role in advancing and protecting our democracy. Yep.
Beatrice Peterson, ABC News. Mayor Bowser, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about an estimate about how much this federal surge is costing. Is MPD doing overtime? Is there support from local agencies? How much money is being spent?
MPD always does overtime, and so I don't know that we're going to have a distinction with this surge or not as it relates to MPD overtime. One benefit of the IMTM setting up the Operations Center, and I didn't get a chance to introduce Clint Osborne earlier, who leads DC HCEMA, but HCEMA acts as our incident command for this new structure. And we are able to track expenses. Yes.
Mayor Bowser, I'm Arthur Delaney with HuffPost. You mentioned a conversation with the Attorney General Pam Bondi about the 30-day time period. Are you expecting them to let this run its course at that time? Could you expand on that conversation at all?
This is what I know, and I can't speak for them, but we will be prepared to take advantage of additional federal officers, to focus on the beautification, to support the federal task force when that time period expires. We will be prepared as a city.
Mayor, nice to meet you. My name is Carlos, Univision.
Hi, Carlos.
What is your message to nervous Hispanic workers?
Earlier, I said, Carlos, that the answer is to have an immigration system that works and that is responsive to people who want to live in the best nation on earth, raise their families, and have a better way of life. And we know in Washington, D.C., so many people have immigrated here and legally immigrated here who have TPS protection, And whether you have documents or you're undocumented, you are like almost, you feel like you're being caught up in a dragnet. And that is horrible. And to the extent that there is enforcement in this town that does not have, let me just say, we should be focused, all these additional federal resources, on violence. And that is what my hope will continue to be. And I would just express to them as a neighbor how very sorry I am that they're living in this terror. Okay, thank you, everybody.
And welcome to the second hour here with the Wisconsin Live Desk. Ted Perry taking over for Haley Spittler, who did a remarkable job with a lot of breaking news that we're talking about today. You have been listening to Washington, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser talking about the federal takeover of the National Guard troops on the streets of Washington, D.C., and her feelings upon that. We got a lot to talk about in this next hour. Of course, the story of the day is the tragedy out in Minneapolis at the at the Church of the Annunciation, in which a gunman went into a morning prayer service at a Catholic school, Church of the Annunciation, and shot multiple people, two children, ages 8 and 10. Or 8 and 11, we're still trying to confirm that, are dead. 17 people are injured, 14 of whom are just young students at the school. An absolute tragedy, and we hope to be hearing from Minneapolis officials during this hour, as well as others who are in that area, and our coverage from KMSP, our sister station, FOX6 there. We'll get to that in a second. I'm going to bring up Christina Van Zels right now. And there she is, Christina. I'm with you here on the live desk, and I'm going to put you in a double. Nope, I am going to put you back there. Sorry. You are doing a story today on river cleanup, and the cleanup is necessary because of this historic flooding that washed debris, into the river and then downriver. So where are you and what's being done today? The floor is yours.
Yeah, there is a lot of work to be done. I will say that. We just spoke with the Milwaukee Riverkeeper organization, who focuses on cleaning up rivers and say this is a long road ahead. Now that the water is receding, you can kind of see what damage is left behind. So right now we're in Wauwatosa, standing along the Menominee River here. I want to show you just some of the garbage and trash that's left behind from that flooding. And to give you perspective, the water during those historic floods a couple weeks ago was above ground. So one of the points that the Riverkeeper organization brought up is not only is there a bunch of garbage left behind from the floods, but also erosion on the sides of the river, making it difficult to clean up the trash because you don't know how stable this ground is. There's a lot of areas blocked off like this one here for safety reasons. So getting volunteers in these areas safely is something they're assessing now to see how they can safely go about starting the cleanup. And Ted, another point of this is the river cleanup isn't necessarily a priority for a lot of cities still. The priority are those residents who had catastrophic damage to their homes and picking up the garbage there. So this is now just starting to show the damage along rivers. We saw the Milwaukee River earlier today too, where there are areas of debris just starting to pile up, a lot of trees and logs. So definitely a long road ahead here, but this is what we're seeing from Wauwatosa today, and with the water receding, what's left behind.
I guess it begs the question, Christina, whose job is it to clean up? Does it depend on the jurisdiction where the water is running? Because these rivers run through many municipalities in our area here. And is it on the DPW from each of these municipalities, or is there an all-out call for river cleanup and volunteers? It's something we do in April. Riverkeeper is one of the many excellent organizations that deals with the health of rivers in our area. But are they calling for volunteers, or is this stuff professionals have to do? What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, it's a mix of both, I'll be honest, because a lot of the debris left behind is in areas that's not necessarily safe for people. One of those being along the Milwaukee River. There is an area right on Pleasant Street, and you can't safely get to that debris. Another area is right here where we're standing. There is no safe space for volunteers to go and clean up. So when it comes to whose job this is, the ideal situation would really be an all hands on deck wherever city you live in or village you live in. There are going to be several additional cleanups happening this fall, and just hearing from the river keepers, they think this is going to go likely through the winter and next spring, just the amount of damage that was left behind. So it does depend on where you live. One tip is if you see an area like this, or if you live by a place where there is a ton of debris and you're not sure how it's getting taken care of, you can call the city or village wherever you live and ask that question. And as I mentioned, I think one challenge is the priority right now might not be bridges and pedestrian sidewalks, so it's hard to say when these things will get taken care of. But if you do see trash and it's safe to pick up, the river keepers said by all means do it, but just a warning to be careful because you don't know how the erosion affected certain places. And I also want to bring up too, Ted, a lot of bridges were wiped out from this. The area we're at, there weren't any bridges wiped out here necessarily, but that's another thing that's going to have to be rebuilt, are bridges that got completely washed away from this storm.
And obviously, if people are going down there, I mean, we saw, it's been more than 2 weeks now since those heavy rains came on that Saturday night into that Sunday. And if you looked at the Milwaukee River, the Kinnickinnic River, even the Fox River in Waukesha, just the volume of water going down gave, in many cases, a rapids-like effect, and it was dangerous. Where you are there, it does not seem that the flow of the river, on its surface anyway, seems dramatically rapid, but you never know what lies underneath either, do you?
No, you don't, and I think that's why that there is that warning to just be careful wherever you are. If you look at the river now, it looks pretty normal compared to what it is, and you can actually see the bottom now. But if you're somewhere along the Milwaukee River, that doesn't look like there is a heavy flow of water going through the river right now, but again, you can't see the bottom. We're not sure what's going underneath all that water because there are so many, we saw whole trees still left behind in the river there. So you just never know and want to be careful, but obviously this is going to take quite some time to clean up, and you can just see from this little area we're standing in right now how much trash and damage is left behind.
So final question, plug your story today. What angle specifically you're taking, and when are we going to be able to see you on the broadcast side, Christina?
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about all of this and what you can do to help, and also if you're a resident dealing with something like this in your backyard, when you're going to see some relief. We will have this on at 5:30 and 6:15 today. That's the plan for now. We're also going to have some drone footage so you can see aerial views of the damage left behind, and some other areas across Milwaukee County and the southeastern Wisconsin area that also have damage like this, just to show how much there is to be cleaned up and so much yet still to be done.
All right, Christina Van Zels reporting for us along the river in Wauwatosa there. We'll let you get back to your reporting. Thanks for giving us a few minutes of your time in your day as you're going about getting the facts for this. We'll see you on the Fox 6 side, broadcast side a little later on. Christina, thanks so much.
Sounds good.
All right, what we're going to do right now is we're going to take a quick break here on the Wisconsin Live Desk, and we'll be back in a few minutes.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Wisconsin Live Desk. Ted Perry with you at 1:43 on this beautiful Wednesday afternoon. 73 degrees. It seems like pretty low humidity out there. I'm going to try to bring in Stephanie Barrichello here, and I did it. Steph, I'm learning the controls here, pressing the buttons, and what a nice surprise to find that you are where you're supposed to be and that I got you up there. It is one of these days that, you want to call in sick for work, but you remember that you're not allowed to call in sick for work. And it's one of these days so gorgeous. I have an old dog, right? And she's 13, and we go for walks just long enough for her to do her business. Yeah. And she did a business right out of the gate today. I said, no, you're going again.
We're going to keep going.
You're going to, yeah, we're going to go again here. So take it away and tell us how it's looking for the rest of the night.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. The weather we've had lately has been beautiful. We've had plenty of sunshine. Dew points have been as low as 40 at times, which is just incredible after the heat and humidity we've had so far this summer. It is going to continue as we head into the holiday week, but we do have one little hiccup, and that arrives overnight tonight and tomorrow, and that's a cold front. That is going to bring us a chance for some showers. Now, right now, all of the rain is way up towards the north of us. Behind it, you can see that cold front. That's what's going to sink through our area later tomorrow afternoon. So some of the rain that we'll see overnight and tomorrow morning will be out ahead of it. And also, again, the rest of today is still going to be beautiful. So if you're trying to get out and about for an evening walk or run, if you're like me, your kids have to get outside and run around the block at least once so that they get their energy out. I get it. I'm here. But it's still going to be a great afternoon, evening to do so. Now, tomorrow morning will likely be a little bit on the soggy side. This isn't going to be a huge rainmaker for us, which is good news because I know we are still cleaning up after all of that rain from a couple weeks ago. But what you see up towards the north right now is more so just those scattered rain showers. They're going to continue to sink southward. We'll also likely see some development out in Minnesota too. We could see that overnight tonight. So almost two different chances for rain that will move in. But I think as far as what we have up north with the front itself, it's going to dry out by midday tomorrow, so the afternoon tomorrow still looks pretty good. We'll gradually see clouds decreasing. And as far as some of those rainfall totals go, I wouldn't be surprised if we were really, around that 1, maybe 2/10 of an inch total. So this is not going to be heavy torrential rainfall. Our dew points are not going to be nearly as high as what we've seen with the last couple of events. And we know with some of these higher dew points, that's what really provides some of this tropical rain. So not the situation that we've seen in the past, thank goodness, but it is going to be some rain that will arrive right in time for Thursday morning. So that means kiddos who are already in school who have to wait at the bus stop, or parents driving them to school, or those of us who just have to get to and from work, it will likely be a little bit soggy. And also, today is a warmer day. It's still very comfortable. It's beautiful. As Ted said, we're in the 70s right now. We're likely going to climb into the mid-70s in the next couple of hours. With the fact that this is a cold front, we are going to cool down a little bit more. Some of the coolest air is way up in Canada, and that's where it'll stay. Just tomorrow is going to be one of those days, though, where we hit our high temperature, likely early afternoon, maybe 1, 2 o'clock, around 70. So clearly quite a bit cooler than today. And then a lake breeze is going to kick in, and that will likely drop us into the 60s starting, early tomorrow afternoon. And then Friday, to kick off the holiday weekend, is going to be much like what we experienced on Monday, with highs falling short of 70. So we are still talking some of this cooler than average air lingering through at least the holiday on Monday. Labor Day itself, it looks like we could get close to temperatures like today. So some of these low and middle 70s, maybe warming up later next week. But in the meantime, as you're getting ready to make your plans, Ted, I don't know, maybe you're heading up north this weekend. I know that's the place to be on a lot of these longer weekends, and of course the unofficial end to summer. We have to plan for some cooler nights and some cooler days. It's not really going to be perfect lake weather, but still plenty of opportunities to get out there. Just know that especially the nights, if you're going to be camping in the next couple or heading into the holiday weekend, going to be a little on the cool side.
The camping would be great, except that we still have those mosquitoes.
Oh, they're awful.
That have been really bad. That we earlier in the summer, a friend of mine said, "Hey, there haven't been any mosquitoes." I'm like, "Oh man, you just cursed it."
Yep.
And with our historic floods, we have had that. No, to answer your question, I do have a very tiny cottage up north, and I'm not going up Because, you know, I'm from a big family, Stephanie. I got 26 nieces and nephews, and one niece has decided that Labor Day is her weekend at the at my I don't know how that happened.
You're so generous.
But I'm very avuncular. I'm a good uncle. So, hey, I want to ask you something kind of weather related, kind of one of your passions related. I don't know if you saw this, but in Mayville yesterday, they built a volleyball court for the indoor girls volleyball team, put it on the football field, and had Horicon, and I'm forgetting a school, but also Mayville, and they played girls volleyball on the football field, and you'll be very happy to know they drew a very good crowd on this.
Wow, that's incredible. I did not know that, so now I know what I'm going to be looking at right after this hit. I approve. You know, it's so interesting because it was just late last week that we held, I believe, collegiate volleyball on our air. A lot of people are really into it, which makes me very happy because, as you said, this is probably my second passion other than weather. I still love that sport.
And the University of Wisconsin women's team, of course, national contenders every year. A few years back, they did win the national title. That's a tough ticket to get still. I mean, you got men's hockey, you got men's basketball, of course, women's hockey as well, and of course the football team. But among those, the toughest ticket to get is women's volleyball because they play in the field house, which is this old barn where they used to play hoops in, and they pack the joint every night. And it's really fun for me. I go fishing every year with a bunch of my buddies from Baraboo. 3 of them live in Madison. They don't want to talk Badger football. They don't want to talk Badger hoops. They start talking women's volleyball. And I think that is so awesome that it's become so high in the list of fan favorites over there at UW.
Yeah, it's so exciting. And remember when they came to Fiserv last fall, I was at that, and those were hard tickets to find too. And it was a packed house. So, I mean, I think it's just such an exciting sport, both men's and women's, but it's just captivating, I think, for audience of every age.
Gotcha. Well, we appreciate your time. It was fun to be on my second Wisconsin Live Desk with you.
Good job.
We punched all the right buttons and got you up. So, all right, I know you got a busy afternoon ahead, so I'll let you go. Steph, we'll see you on the broadcast
Thanks,
side.
Ted.
All right. What we're going to do now is we're going to take a quick break. We'll come back. We're going to go around the horn, see what's happening. We're going to check in on Minneapolis. We're still awaiting a couple news conferences there. They've kind of been catch can up there. Politicians visiting the scene, different political leaders stopping by, giving their opinion, giving their thoughts about that terrible tragedy that happened there. But right now we'll take a short break and we'll be back here on the Wisconsin Live Desk where it's 150 and 73 degrees in Milwaukee. Thanks for being with us right now.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
And welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk. Right now, we're going to take you to the Milwaukee County Courthouse, where we are awaiting sentencing for Ronald Fuller, who is due to be sentenced today. Trying to get confirmation that this is Fuller's case right here, because we do have a camera in the courtroom. But let me tell you, as we take a look at the courtroom, that Fuller was accused of failing shooting Lakeisha Timmons, a Milwaukee mother of 8, in April of 2024. He pleaded guilty in April of this year to a lesser second-degree reckless homicide charge. That's the case we're monitoring right now. Milwaukee police were dispatched to an area near 18th and Hadley in April of 2024 because of a shot spotter complaint. That is the technology that can trace where bullets have been fired in the city of Milwaukee. And when they arrived on the scene, they found Lakeisha Timmons with a gunshot wound. They tried to save her life, but she was pronounced dead on the scene. They located a 9mm cartridge casings near her body. And police spoke with a person familiar with Timmons, and he indicated he was awakened by 6 to 7 shots and saw a person walking westbound of Hadley immediately following the shots. The person also noted that Fuller and Timmons had been going through a messy child custody dispute. So we are awaiting sentencing on that, and when we do hear from the judge, we'll bring it back to you there. Right now I want to bring you some news, and I want to credit our friends over at the Milwaukee Record. But a sad story, especially for those of you who really like this store. American Science and Surplus, according to Milwaukee Record, just within the last hour, closing. They tried to stay open with a GoFundMe to relocate its warehouse, but despite raising nearly $200,000 in the past 3 months, it seems American Science and Surplus will close its warehouse, and with it, its mail and web order business. Owner Patrick Meyer made the announcement today on GoFundMe. And he quotes here, and again, this is in the Milwaukee Record online. "In my 41 years here, I've done every job there is to do at American Science and Surplus, from scraping gum off floors to buying bales of shredded money. Now I have the toughest job I've ever had. It's with great sadness I have to announce the closing of American Science and Surplus mail order warehouse website." It goes on to say they're going to try to do what they can to sell the store to employees if possible. The Milwaukee American Science and Surplus, located 6900 block of West Oklahoma, also has 2 locations in Illinois. They are working to sell the Milwaukee and Geneva stores to employees to see if that'll work out. But it's a kitschy place, is one way to describe it, but it's also a place of science and learning, and a great place to get gifts for kids. Over the years, it's been a great place to stop in if you're going to a kid's birthday party, or you have a niece or nephew having some sort of party or celebration. It's always been a great store and really sparks the imagination in science. So it's a tough news to announce that that store. We've done stories on this. Ashley Sears did a story in May about that GoFundMe and how they were doing their best to stay open. But unfortunately, that's going to close right now. So that's the situation there. I want to take you around a little bit. First, show you the scene in Minneapolis. We are awaiting more information on that awful story this morning at the Church of the Annunciation on 54th Street in Minneapolis. School kids were in church. They were praying today about 8:34 when a gunman started firing inside to that church. School just started Monday. Today's Wednesday. 2 children are dead. 17 more people are injured. 14 of them are children. So we don't know the severity of those injuries, but we know that 14 of the 17 people who were shot are children. The gunman turned the gun on himself. We don't know who he or she is. We believe it's a he. I don't know if we've been able to confirm that or not. But on just the 3rd day of school, this absolute tragedy happening in Minneapolis. The president calling Tim Walz today to offer condolences from the White House, and we'll quickly show you the flag outside or atop of the White House flying at half-staff in honor of those children who were killed and injured there, as we take you now back to Minneapolis. Today is the feast every day, and those of you who are Catholic knows this, there's a different patron saint every day. I couldn't help but notice today's patron saint is Saint Monica. And Saint Monica, among other things, is the patron saint of mothers. And I can't help but think of all those mothers who are grieving today. Obviously, the mothers of those 2 children killed, but mothers and fathers all over the Midwest, all over the country, just grieving for this loss. And, you know, we've had a couple different school shootings at universities, or at least reports. There was one at University of Arkansas the other day. That turned out to be a hoax. There was one at University of Tennessee, Chattanooga last week. That was not a hoax. And there have been a number of just reports of shootings, and it's a sad reminder that school's back in session because we're reporting on school shootings. And this one today, we have no idea the motive. We have no idea who this person was, why they did what they did, why that school was chosen as the object of their rage or their delusion or whatever it is. Can't speculate, won't speculate as to why this happened. But here we are, not even at Labor Day, and we're already reporting school shootings. And God knows we don't want to be reporting anymore, but we know that it's very likely we will. Take it to Texas here right now, and this is Governor Greg Abbott here. Let me try to give us some sound on this. Let's listen into this bill sign.
Making Texas healthy, it's not complicated. It's the usual stuff, eating right, exercising, doing the things that will help to prevent illness. Chronic diseases, such as obesity and diabetes, are due in part to ultra-processed foods, poor nutrition, and lack of exercise. Senate Bill 25 that I'm about to sign by Senator Kolkhorst and Representative Hull is known as the Make Texas Healthy Again Act. It promotes healthier living for all Texans by embedding nutrition education across K through 12 schools, higher education, as well as among healthcare professionals. To support informed consumer choice, Senate Bill 25 requires clear labeling on packaged food products that contain ingredients that are banned in many other countries. In addition to Senate Bill 25, I'm going to sign Senate Bill 314 by Senator Hughes and Representative Harris-Dobler. It prohibits schools that participate in the National School Lunch and Breakfast programs from serving foods with additives that are linked to disease, diabetes, and obesity. Then there's Senate Bill 379 by Senator Middleton and Representative Gerdes. It prohibits SNAP benefits from being used to buy sweetened drinks and candy. Taxpayer dollars should not be used to fund chronic health problems in our state. To be clear, these are bipartisan laws that I'm proud to sign into effect.
Okay. If you're just joining us here, this is Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, alongside Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who has been pushing for a ban on certain types of dyes and food additives, and getting his wish there in Texas as the governor signing a bipartisan bill that will affect school lunches at public schools in Texas. So that is the story there. Let's take you back now. This is in a Milwaukee County courtroom, and this is the sentencing of a man found guilty, Ronald Fuller, who pleaded guilty to second-degree reckless homicide in this case. Let's see if we can give a listen inside the courtroom.
Okay, let me get myself together. Yes, sir. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. Would you start, ma'am, by please stating your first and last name and spelling both for the record?
Yes, ma'am. My name is Latonelia Ann Timmons Sr. You spell it L for Larry, A for Apple, T for Tom, A for Apple, N for Nancy, I for India, L for Larry, I for India, A for Apple, the middle initial, A for Ann, last name is my daughter's, Timmons. T for Tom, I for India, M for Mary, another M for Mary, O for Oscar, N for Nancy, S for Sam.
Ms. Timmons, what would you like to say?
I'm here today to speak on my daughter. She was a good mother. She loved her kids. She loved her family. She would have never left us like this. And I don't understand what made him do this to my daughter. She was all I had. I have 8 boys and 1 girl. That was my only daughter. And she left behind 9 kids, 7 grandkids. I just want to ask Rhonda Fuller, why did he do that to my daughter? She was doing everything she had to do that the judge asked her to do. I don't even want to look at him. I just want to ask him, why did he do this to my daughter? Knowing that we loved her, she was all that we had. My heart would never be the same. I would never be the same. But I just thank her for her legacy, for leaving me behind my grandkids and my great-grandkids. And I just want to thank God for that. And I thank you guys for letting me get this over with so we could go on with our life as up till today.
Thank you, Ms. Timmons.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, too. I still want to know why he did it, too. Thank you.
And again, if you're just joining us, that was Latanelia Timmons, the mother of homicide victim Lakeisha Williams, Timmons, who was killed in April of 2024. This will be another victim witness statement.
Levi L. Leviticus Leviticus Timmons Timmons.
Mr. Timmons, what would you like to say?
I just want to know, man, why you do that to us, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, once they ain't done nothing to you, man. You know what I'm saying? Nigga, you lucky I can't kill you, nigga. You lucky, nigga. You lucky, nigga.
I need you to direct your comments to me, okay? I get that it's hard, but I need you to direct it to me, okay?
I'm saying, man, she ain't do shit to her. She ain't do nothing to her, man. You saw her all the time. She deserve it, you know what I'm saying? It ain't fair, man. This ain't fair that I couldn't even save her. I live all the way up north. I couldn't even come here. I couldn't save my sister. You know how I feel every day. I gotta wake up. I gotta deal with this shit. I just gotta deal with this. I just hope you get everything you deserve, man. I hope you get everything you deserve. You deserve life, man. You don't deserve to be on the streets no more, man. You do not deserve to be on the streets, man. Took my sister for no reason, man. She ain't never did nothing to you for you to shoot her. Never. Never. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, Mr. Timmons.
And this is heartbreaking to watch and to listen to, but this is part of the legal process here at a sentencing. People affected by the death of a person allowed to speak at the sentencing. We've heard from a mother and a brother, and let's listen to another.
Antoine Timmons, Antoine Timmons.
You're the oldest son.
I'm the son.
Okay.
How much time do I have? Do I have a lot of time or no?
I'm here to listen to what you have to say.
Honestly, I don't know what to say. But I just wish Ronald would have thought about what he did to my mother. Because even though they had differences, honestly, I know we all feel like we have the best mother, but I had the greatest mother in the world. And I just wish Ron would have thought about what he did to my mother, because since she has no longer been here, I honestly could say that my life has not been a living hell, but it's not really a life anymore. I wish that he would have thought about the children that they had together, because now that she's gone and he's gone, I have to take care of their small children on my own with my other sibling, Latilia Timmons Jr.
How old are you?
I'm 20, I'll be 27 this year.
It's a lot of responsibility. What was your mom like?
My mom was the greatest mother. She was kind, hard. I tell people all the time, because we look so much alike. I don't know if you see a picture of her, but we look so much alike. I tell people that she was the better part of me. I'm very mean and stubborn and just difficult to deal with sometimes. And she was just a light. She would come in a room and brighten it up. If this room was dark right now, she'd step in here, it'd be light. She was just so beautiful and kind and sweet, caring. She would give the shirt off anybody back. And she gave Ron a shirt off her back literally before. That's what I'm so confused about. How could he take someone that he claimed that one part that he loved? I just don't get it. And I don't want to take too much time, but I do hope that you give him the maximum that you can give him. I don't care if it's 30 years, I don't care if it's 40 years, I don't care what it is, as long as I feel like he should never walk the streets again, because he is a danger to himself and to his children that he has left behind. And that's all I want to say.
Thank you, Mr. Timmons.
Right, what you're seeing here is the sentencing of Ronald Fuller, who
Judge, I'm going
killed
to play something as soon as it...
Lakeisha Timmons in April of 2024 near 18th and Hadley. She was the mother of 9. You've heard from her mother, you've heard from her brother, and you just heard from her son, Antoine Timmons, all of whom asking for the maximum penalty for Fuller for taking the life of a woman who was described as kind, a woman who would light up the room, a wonderful mother, and there's the judge in this case. So let's keep listening in on this. I think they're getting set to play a video of some sort.
Should be popping up.
There's an issue with the court itself.
What's that?
There's got to be an issue with the court itself. The TVs are up and running.
Okay, while they're doing that, let me give you some more background on the case. It was April of 2024 near 18th and Hadley where police were called after someone heard 6 to 7 shots, and they then found Timmons walking away from the scene. He had thrown the gun into a recycling bin, but that gun was found. He pleaded guilty. I was originally charged with first-degree first-degree reckless homicide.
The plea agreement between the state and the defense.
Guilty to second degree. I'm going to let you keep listening.
Mr. Fuller entered a no contest plea to second-degree reckless homicide while armed. The state is recommending incarceration in an amount to be determined by the court. As the court can tell, Mr. Fuller and Ms. Timmons had been in a relationship. They have 3 children together. Sometime before this homicide, I know those 3 children were originally with Mr. Fuller. Ms. Timmons for a while was essentially homeless, but she had reestablished a home. This video, which is shot from a Ring camera or a doorbell camera across the street, where the cursor is circling, that's the home where she lived with her family, Ms. Timmons. And then because of another issue, some concern about the children's safety, those 3 children had been placed with Ms. Timmons. And in the criminal complaint on the page 2, I summarized a statement made by A.T., who is Antoine Timmons, the young man who just spoke, in which he described that his mother and Mr. Fuller had been going through a child custody dispute. And that's what I'm referring to. This video is about 7:30 in the morning, and I've seen it a lot, but so I'll describe the court what you're going to see in a few minutes, and it's not long. You will see a van, which is Ms. Timmons' van. She had left her home earlier. That was captured on video. She had a regular schedule. She would take her kids up and drop them off. The bus would pick them up. She would get a cup of coffee, and then she would return home. And you can also hear comments that you will hear. You will see because the sun's going to be coming up over this house, there is some glare. It's not clear. You will hear a voice yelling, "Ron, Ron." That is Ms. Timmons' voice. You will see her then run north, which is the direction the cursor is moving, and she ends up falling in the street over here, and then a person walks away. This is a fairly short video. It's about 1 minute and 23 seconds. I'm just going to play it. So, Judge, the police found 9 casings basically right in front of Ms. Timmons' home. There was a single bullet which struck her body. It struck the left chest, traveled through the body, exited on the right side, and during the path it hit her aorta, causing her death. In the criminal complaint, the state summarized a statement which Mr. Fuller had made to the police. That statement, based upon a motion filed by Mr. Fuller's first attorney, agreed couldn't be admissible in the case in chief if we had gone to trial. And the family of Ms. Timmons, as they've related here, wants to know why. And I can't give it to them. I'm not sure Mr. Fuller can give it to him. He basically says he went over there. He was about to leave. She pulled up, and for reasons that he can't explain, he ends up firing. He kills the mother of his 3 children, and as stated by the family, those 3 kids now no longer have a mother. While they have a father, he is not going to be part of their life other than maybe a few visits, because everybody in this court recognizes he's going to prison. The question is for how long. His history doesn't point this out either. You look at his record, it is old. It's convictions in the 90s. It's for stuff that young people do, operating vehicles without owner's consent. What happened that morning, I can't explain. But he went over there, he knew where she lived. He went over there armed with a gun, and he shot her and he killed her. It's truly sad. It has left, as is evidence, what the court has seen here, a family that's having to deal with consequences that they will deal with for the rest of their lives, they and the children. It is a case in which incarceration is warranted, is merited, and is deserved, both to punish Mr. Fuller, in a sense, mainly that is the main goal here. Given his age, given his lack of criminal record, it's hard to see him going out and doing a lot of crimes, although nobody could have expected this. But it is a case that the state believes that incarceration is necessary. We are leaving it up to the court. The state is also recommending $5,000 incarceration, which is the amount that crime victim compensation paid to the family. There has been no other restitution request filed.
Defense? As to the restitution?
One moment, please.
While the defense gets ready to rebut what the state has asked in sentencing, you're
Is there a
watching.
restitution form filed?
You're watching the sentencing of Ronald
Yeah,
Fuller.
that's. I was just looking to see if I had missed it in the e-file. So if I could just talk to
Check the queue for it quick, just a moment.
So he's going to talk to his client, Ronald Fuller, here, who was pleading guilty to second-degree reckless homicide in the April 2024 death of Lakeisha Timmons, mother of 9, 3 of whom she had with the defendant, Ronald Fuller. You just heard jaw-dropping, heartbreaking audio of that killing in which 9 shots were fired outside her home at 18th and Hadley. Here's the defense attorney.
On behalf of Mr. Fuller, there's no objection to that request for the
Thank you.
amount. You know, I don't believe there's an answer to the question that everybody wants, at least nothing that's going to be satisfactory, and that is, how did we get here? You know, in every criminal case that I handle and discussions about allocution and instructions from me, the 2 questions I say that we always need to answer are, how did we get here and where are we going? And how we got here is there are some inputs and there are some facts to discuss in terms of you know, the events leading up to that day, and some of them are covered in the pre-sentence, and I just want to discuss that. And I would also like to talk about some of the stuff that's not in the pre-sentence. It's referenced, most significantly, my client's health and diagnoses, and the medical records that I've reviewed, and then a discussion about the recommendation that we got from the pre-sentence writer and the ultimate recommendation we are making for this court. You know, I think the state summed up very succinctly and accurately the premise that this was a surprise to any who knew Mr. Fuller. There was nothing in his background, his contacts with the criminal justice system that suggested that this was the trajectory of his life, and April 1st of 2024 would become, you know, the most tragic and devastating day of his life and the lives of the people who have spoken here today. When we look at, you know, the 26-year gap between the last time Mr. Fuller was involved in anything related to the criminal justice system, essentially getting off of parole or supervision in 1998, we see someone who has a lengthy work history. He has a dedication to family, and I'm going to touch on that a bit, as the state also did relative to the custody of his 3 youngest and children with Ms. Timmons. But we saw somebody who, for the last 26 years, was dedicated to being someone that his children could be proud of, and trying to live a life, not just at the minimum of, you know, I know sometimes courts scoff at the notion, well, I haven't caught a case in X number of years, right? Well, the expectation is, of course, that people don't get in trouble and don't commit crimes. We don't want that. it's increasingly more difficult for individuals who come from incredibly disadvantaged backgrounds. And all you have to do is look at Mr. Fuller's backstory of an absent father, an alcohol-dependent mother, and placements in and out of the home and victimization, that it's not surprising that in the late 80s, early 90s, he was getting in trouble. But the good news for him is that at least after 1998, he did whatever he could to be a pro-social member of our community, to raise his kids right, and you know, the cruel sort of irony here is, you know, his relationship with Ms. Timmons was actually the longest of his adult life. He had been married previously twice, but their time together was his longest relationship. And there was a time they were in love and doing well together. And while I'm not sure he articulates it this way, I think 2019 for him was a pretty pivotal moment. As the court no doubt is aware, he was involved in a motor vehicle accident and is permanently disabled as a result, has a distinct walk. I know he didn't use his cane coming in here, but he does use one and typically walks with one. And to go from, at that point, 15 years in the same occupation, providing, working hard, to being permanently disabled and unable to work, I think things started to change for him. And being a father to young children and unable to provide beyond a disability payment every month, I think wore on him in ways that he doesn't even understand as he sits here. What did it do? It led to even more isolation. I did submit one letter from his friend, Miss Williams, but he told the writer, you know, I tend to keep to myself. I don't have a large circle of friends and in a community. And for a long time, that was Miss Timmons, right? And her family. The lengthy period of, I guess, of when we hit 2019 and Mr. Fuller realizes, okay, I'm not going to be able to support myself. I'm going to have to rely on others to do this. You know, he's grappling with that. He's grappling with the very real deterioration of their relationship, and then begins this journey of trying to navigate co-parenting and custody arrangements. And the children were being moved from one home to another, and, you know, the stress of that, the anxiety of all of that, and I'm sure the very genuine belief from both parties that I'm a good mother, I'm a good father, I want to be present, and, you know, unfortunately having to leave those decisions in the hands of judges and not be able to work things out among themselves or via mediation or anything like that. We fast forward a little to Mr. Fuller's diagnosis of multiple sclerosis. And I know the PSI writer said that they requested records and didn't receive them. I've reviewed them, and you know, the February of 2023 MRI imaging showed multiple lesions on his brain and cervical spinal cord, consistent with a history of what they call demyelinating disease, which is DEMYELINATING. That's the scientific name of the neurodegenerative condition known as MS. It's the most common of those groups of diseases. And, you know, essentially, you have someone who's in 2020 disabled, removed from the workforce, isolated, learns about a diagnosis that he'll tell you still to this day he doesn't really understand and know what's in store. And the decision on this day he had been self-medicating or smoking marijuana is.
Okay, you have been listening to the defense attorney for Ronald Fuller, who has pleaded guilty to second-degree reckless homicide in the death of Lakeisha Timmons in April of 2024. You heard from the victim's mother, you heard from the victim's brother, you heard from the victim's son, Antoine Timmons, all of whom wanted two things. One, the maximum penalty for Fuller, and two, an answer as to why. Why did Fuller gun down their daughter, their sister, their mother in cold blood at 18th and Hadley on an April morning in 2024? The defense attorney says that answer is not coming today because Fuller doesn't fully recognize why he did it. The judge here, Laura Crivello, is yet to give her sentence. That's a familiar name. She was the judge in the Sade Robinson case. We're going to sign off on the Wisconsin Live Desk, but we're going to continue to stream this on Fox Local. You have been watching Wisconsin Live Desk. I'm Ted Perry. I'll see you on the broadcast side later on.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to First and North. My name is Lou Canellis at Fox 32 in Chicago. Let's bring up the crew. Joining me this week on First and North, the voice of the Lions from Fox in Detroit. There he is, Dan Miller. From Fox Milwaukee, Lily Zhao. And from Fox Minneapolis, we love him, Ahmad Hicks. All right, let's get right into it. And I'm going to start with you, Ahmad. Vikings made a flurry of trades to build up draft capital to hopefully make a deal with the Panthers for wide receiver Adam Thielen. Is it going to get done?
It just seems like the Carolina Panthers asking price is a little too high. I mean, you're talking about a guy who's going to be your number 2 or 3 wide receiver in Carolina. He's going to come here and be the number 3 or 4 wide receiver once Jordan Addison and Jalen Nailor return. I just can't see the Vikings and Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah being willing to give up anything less than a 6th-round pick for Adam Thielen, seeing how they only need him essentially for 4 weeks here.
All right, let's talk about Jordan Addison, suspended for 3 games. Jalen Nailor dealing with the injury you reference.